Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is 𝗪𝗶𝘁𝗶, and I am your guest host for the week while Eric is away. He is currently in Raleigh with part of the Streamline team for a week of team meetings. Thank you for your patience this morning. We had a little bit of a tech issue, but we are ready to roll with our very special guest today. So our guest today is Stephen Walker. Hi, Stephen.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going very well now that we got all our tech things
I
situated.
know.
So happy
Sorry
to
about that.
no problem. So happy to have you on the show today. Can you tell us what you're going to teach us today?
Today we're going to talk about painting sunsets and basically doing what your mother told you not to do as far as looking directly into the sun.
That sounds fabulous, and I can't wait to paint with you today.
Awesome.
All right, let's get this show started.
It's
Alrighty,
School
switch
Live with Eric Rhodes. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhodes.
Hello, everyone. You may have noticed that I am not, in fact, Eric Rhodes. My name is 𝗪𝗶𝘁𝗶. I run the School of Atelier Arts, and I am guest hosting for Eric while he is away doing fun art things in Raleigh with his team. Today, my guest is Stephen Walker, and he's going to teach us how to paint sunsets. And what was it that you said, Stephen? You're going to teach us to do what your mother taught us.
Do what your mother told you not to do as far as looking right into the sun.
Excellent. I can't wait to stare at some sun with you today.
Awesome.
All right. So take it away.
Alrighty. Take you through my normal process, which is first I will use my medium, my drying medium. And usually I put that all over the board just so it gives me a consistent pull of the paint.
Oh, wow. So you cover the whole board with a medium before you even start putting paint down?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. I have not seen this technique before. Where did you learn to do that, or what inspired that approach?
You know what? I thought I came up with it myself, and then I went to a workshop with 𝗪𝗶𝘁𝗶𝘁𝗶, and he did it, and I was just like, are you kidding me? I thought I came up with this. So I don't know where he got it from, but I've always done that just because I'm absent-minded and I'm going to forget to dip into my can for whatever medium I'm using. So that's one of the reasons I do that. But also it helps everything to dry at the same pace. So this will probably be dry by tomorrow, given the temperature outside right now.
Sure. Excellent. Well, I can't wait to see what you do with this prepared canvas here.
All right. All right. I'm not really concerned about copying the photo as much as getting that light to really glow. So I'm not going to get every branch.
Mm-hmm.
Here. I'm using orange just because of the glow of the sun. It's a little bit better than using yellow in these instances right away, because if you use yellow and then you start adding in some blue, you're going to get green, and then there's going to be a whole bit of crying and complaining. My sky turned green on me.
So we have some questions in the chat about which medium you're using and what paint is on your palette.
It's a drying medium called solvent-free fluid.
Okay.
The colors I have on my palette right now are transparent red oxide, alizarin crimson, cad red light, cad orange, cad yellow deep, and cad lemon. Let's see what else. Chromium green oxide. I used to have Viridian. Now it's what else? Radiant turquoise, cobalt blue, and French ultramarine.
Excellent. So you have quite a full palette there. What inspired the change from Viridian?
I'm just trying something new right now. I'll probably go back and forth between it. I honestly, I think Viridian by itself is just a really bad color, but I usually mix it within the rest of the palette to give me variations in greens.
Excellent. I love strong opinions from painters like that.
I'm
Okay,
full of a lot of things. I don't know strong opinions. All right, so we've got kind of a drawing here, loose drawing. We're just gonna have fun with this. Next up, I usually work from back forward, so I'm taking a lot of white and mixing in with that orange. I want basically a peach. This will leave me room, peach for the sky. This will leave me room to add white and get it a little bit brighter. Kind of hard to see. It's hard to see on the screen right now because I'm working on a whiteboard. I don't usually use a tone surface just because I want the white to really pop, help the color pop. And I know from my own experience, I mean, if I use a tone surface, my colors aren't nearly as rich and bright.
I definitely feel you there. I paint a lot of flowers, and if I do an underpainting or tone canvas, you can't get those chroma notes.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So I love this idea. There's some debate in the atelier world between whether the value or the chroma of a light note or, showing light. And I love this idea that you start with a warm underpainting of
Yeah,
sorts so that your white will really pop on top.
yeah. Most of my colors to start with, as you'll see, you'll probably, if you're painting along, you'll probably panic because most of my colors are pretty garish to start with. And then I just kind of pull them back. Or I try to, let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, I think there's something to be said for the ability to you can always make a color more neutral, but you can't make a color more chromatic. So I love a good garish palette.
Thank you. All right, I'm just gonna attack this like a bull in a china shop. I'm usually pretty aggressive with painting, so I just grab a color, whatever I see immediately, that's the color I go with. I don't try to overthink it until like later in the process where I've got actual paint all over the board.
Excellent. So just as a reminder for everybody watching, we have the fabulous Stephen Walker painting with us today, and he is teaching us to look into the sun.
This will make things a little bit easier to look at. Let's see. And I'm starting with what is this, a number 6 brush, number 6 bright. I try to start with a bigger brush and work my way down to smaller brushes. Also, I'm using this orange to kind of give an outside glow to each tree.
Can you say that one more time? You're using what for an outside glow?
I use orange a lot for an outside glow because these trees, I mean, if you see the reference, the trees will be on the outer left and right will be more blue and purple and gray. But to start, I want orange because if I put blue on top of orange, it's not a big deal. It'll gray out.
Excellent. So you allow your colors to then mix some on the canvas as well as mixing on your palette. Is that a fair?
Yes, I do a lot of mixing on the canvas, which, for some people, it drives them crazy. Others, it's more freeing. I personally just don't like spending the time to mix my colors for like 30 minutes or something, or 40 minutes. I'm impatient that way. So let's just get right down to it.
I feel like you're my kind of painter, my friend.
Yeah, I'm not one to want to eat my veggies. I'll just like, okay, we need dessert.
But I see the advantage of putting the medium down first. So for those of you just joining us, the way he started this painting is he put the medium down first to create kind of a uniform surface. And you can see the slickness of the surface he now has to work on top of.
Yeah, and it'll get tacky as I go. The more I work into it with more paint, so you can actually feel it drying.
And you said that this will be completely dry by tomorrow by starting with the dryer on
Yes.
canvas with the dryer. Yeah.
Yes.
So we have a question about what your surface is. What kind of board are you painting?
I'm actually working on an ACM aluminum panel.
Oh.
I've been working on aluminum for about 15 years now. I don't know, I think I was reading some blogs, and there was an artist in Scotland who showed his prep for the surface, and I really liked it because it was a little bit more idiot proof when handing it over to galleries and things like that. I don't worry as much about it getting bent or punctured or anything like that.
I like
It
it.
can still be bent, but it's less likely.
I have heard concerns, and I'm ignorant. I don't have any experience painting on metal, but I have heard the concern expressed by my students before in my online class that they're afraid of the expansion and contraction of metals in different temperatures and how that might affect their painting. Have you had any trouble with that?
I have not, and I've actually moved from two different. I started when I started. I was living in Ohio. It got nice cold, rich weather, and now I'm in South Georgia.
Okay.
So it definitely has changed, but I haven't faced any expansion problems. I also prep my board with a DTM bonding primer, and that basically seals the aluminum on both sides. It's the same stuff they use for like boats. So I've been using that in addition. It's a longer process, but it's worth it.
So you have a metal panel, and then you prime it with some sort of bonding material.
Yes, and then I'll put gesso on top of that if I feel like it.
Okay. If you're not too impatient to get to the painting part.
If I'm not too impatient.
By not mixing your paints first.
Right. Exactly.
I love this. Shout out to Neil in the chat for doing such a great job of recapping what's going on here. Much appreciation to you.
Let's see. I'm going to
and just to confirm,
go ahead.
Sorry, this is oil painting, correct? Just to confirm for our viewers. Okay.
I'm going to go a little bit darker, heavier paint. It's really loose, and I'm working my way around the sun here. Because the sun we don't want to draw it like an actual circle, like if we're in grade school or something. I mean, no offense. I mean, I have a 9-year-old, so she's.
Yes, my niece is listening right now. I'll have you know.
Yes. Sorry. I switched down to a smaller brush. This is only an 8x10 or 7x10 panel, so it's okay to switch down to a small brush. I'm not getting into details though.
So what are some common mistakes people make when painting sunsets, do you think?
Rays, and they're trying to get that circle that they know is the sun, when really the goal is to get it to look like it's cutting through objects, especially if you're painting like this reference where it's cutting through the woods or trees. It's the intensity and the lack of, sometimes it's the lack of having other cool colors to assist with how bright and warm the sun is.
Oh, interesting. So do you ever exaggerate your coolness to
get
that effect? Okay.
Yeah. I call, I'll go into this a little bit more, but I usually equate it to having a really dumb friend. You've got the sun, which is really bright, but you need that dumb friend to make you look brighter.
I love what's in your brain.
Yeah.
This is great.
So it's getting a little darker, it's getting warmer. I'm gonna start adding some blues in there. One thing it's hard to do is switch back to a bigger brush. Once we get into small brushes, we usually want to just hold them and keep them really close to us. I'm gonna.
Do you usually use one particular brush shape, or do you use various brush shapes?
I try to use various brush shapes and tools. I use a brayer sometimes on bigger paintings.
Wow.
I use a lot of brights, not as many flats, just because I like a stiffer brush, and a couple of rounds, for details and things towards the end. Let's see. I'm gonna start with adding some of that cobalt into this. I'm not going to go as dark as the French ultramarine yet.
What a difference that makes.
Yeah, this is the part that I actually like, because then it looks like I know what I'm doing.
I always feel a little bit like a crazy person when a painting is in that awkward teenager phase,
Yes, I have had demos where I can hear the people whispering. I don't know if he knows what he's doing. It's like, okay, thanks for your support.
The vote of confidence.
Right.
I think there's a exact moment in every painting where everything starts to come together, or that the outsiders can see the vision that's floating in your head.
Right. Prior to that, it's like, okay, let's hope we didn't waste our time or money on this guy. Gonna wipe out a couple of spots here. Or try to.
So when you're wiping out, are you using a medium to remove paint or just a clean brush?
Yes.
Okay.
Usually I'm using a medium, trying to open up some spots.
So 𝗂𝗶𝘁𝗶𝗴 is sympathizing with you. Seems there's always a critic around.
Always. Yeah. And sometimes it's the people that are closest to you.
Oh, yeah.
I was painting at an art fair, and here comes my family. Turning the corner, and my dad, does he know what he's doing? Oh my God, get these people away. There needs to be security at some of these places.
Sometimes the people that have no art training have this uncanny ability to know that something's wrong, but not helpful at all to help you fix it.
No help whatsoever.
Right. And that's the most infuriating of all, is when someone with no training knows that something's
wrong. Thanks for chiming in.
Yeah.
All right. Now I've got some purple, which is a alizarin crimson mixed with radiant turquoise.
Ooh. I love how you're getting these chromatic darks with the way that you're mixing that pigment. I wouldn't have thought to do that with your what did you call your palette earlier?
It's more of a dual primary.
Okay.
But it's very bright. I don't have any really dull colors except for that chromium oxide, which is not as bright as like a phthalo or viridian. Let's just get rid of all the white, or as much as possible. Let's see how this goes. There is that time where you're just like, okay, is this going to pan out? And that time usually comes to me about every morning around 9 when we walk in the studio.
I was reading a biography on Julia Child, and she said to never apologize for your cooking. And I feel as artists that we need to develop that mindset about our painting, right? Even if it goes awry, never apologize for our painting.
Absolutely. And I've seen that movie with her, and she was a hoot.
I am obsessed with her right now. I think that as someone that's focused in education and, I work with K-12 art teachers through my school and others that are trying to learn how to paint. What I love that 𝗤𝗂𝗀𝗃 did was she made cooking for everybody. It wasn't just for this small subset of people, right? And
Right.
I really admire that she shared her art with the world. And I love that through Art School Live and with your time today that you're sharing knowledge with the world.
Well, thank you. I kind of feel like, I didn't grow up painting immediately. I started kind of late, and once I was like, I think a sophomore in college, I consider that late. But I kind of feel like if I can get it and I can still relate to people that don't get it, I can help them better understand and coach themselves to paint a little bit better.
Absolutely. That's something that comes up a lot in the atelier world, or at least, I get asked that question a lot. Like, is it too late for me? Am I starting too late? But I often think about how Raphael died when he was 38, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not
Crazy.
a lot of time that he had to paint. So if you have 20 years ahead of you, there's no reason that you can't paint a masterpiece that'll change the world.
Exactly. Get in there. Just jump right in.
Oh, and Rosemary has a great statement here in the chat. She's saying she had no idea she could paint until a friend paid for her 2 classes for her 50th birthday.
Oh, how cool is that? What a friend.
Yeah, congratulations on your art journey, Rosemary. Wonderful to have you here.
I hope that's not one of your dumb friends, but sounds like they're not. Sounds like they're
no. Rosemary is going to shine.
Right, so I'm going to try and really push this sun here. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow around it as opposed to putting it on the dot. Usually the center is just going to be almost straight white. So you kind of have a gradient going from the spectrum, I guess, going from white to lemon yellow to yellow deep, all the way to orange.
Excellent. So you're really not shy of the chroma around your sun.
No, I usually, I kind of figure that we all know how to get mud, especially in dealing with oil. So, I worry about getting the mud later and working into it.
That's my favorite new art quote.
It's absolutely true.
Oh,
you can get mud in an instant.
Right.
Trying to clean it up is like, oh man, that's an uphill battle then.
No kidding. Oh, Tina says she's 82 and still slinging paint in plein air. That's fabulous.
All right. I'm hoping I'm doing anything at 82.
Right.
Takes my daughter enough to get me out of bed some mornings.
So there's a question about how thick that you can add paint to a metal panel. Like, do you have to do it in layers, or is that why you put the drying medium there so it'll grab more paint?
It'll grab. If you're working on a straight aluminum panel with like no bonding primer to it, you kind of have to put it on a little bit thicker. I would use a medium to help it grab to the surface initially. After it gets that first layer of paint on there, though, it's just like painting on anything else, any other kind of panel.
Right. So 𝗂𝗂𝗃𝗲𝗃 has a nice comment in the chat saying light to dark as the sun goes down, that you're painting from light to dark, and that's how the sun works too.
Yeah. And especially if I'm doing plein air, I kind of paint everything that I can around it and gauge where the sun's going to set, and still work from dark to, or light to dark, excuse me.
I love seeing all of these artists of all ages in the chat. Some just started to paint 5 years ago. 𝗦𝘂𝗃𝗃 says 𝗦𝘂 is 75 and just started painting 5 years ago. Love it.
Awesome.
It really is a lifelong pursuit. Was it Da Vinci that
It
said when he was 80 years old, if only he had 80 years, then he could really learn how to draw?
is.
Uh,
Mm,
but
that's
I
pretty
feel
good.
that. Yeah, that resonates with me.
Because I mean, gosh, I just have so many ideas. I don't think I'll ever get through them all.
Right? That's the great joy of painting is that, you know, my students in my online class, because I teach students of all ages and a lot of people that had other careers before, they started painting. And, sometimes they're like, oh, I'm behind. I need to learn everything in like 2 years. And I think about how, I'm not teaching my students necessarily how to paint. I'm teaching them how to learn how to paint. Right. So that
Right. I just want to see.
long journey. Yeah, exactly. How to see.
So I think everybody comes into it with all these, we have a lot of preconceived notions about, oh, a tree's always brown, the sky's always blue.
Mhm.
Um, and then once you go start painting, you're like, uh-oh,
Right,
it's, how do I mix to get green again?
right. It's so true. Or do you ever have the experience where it feels like it's changing color as you're painting it?
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
um, often,
Mm.
but I have to kind of just, I've got a process, and so I tend to just stay the course. If I kind of stay with the process, everything will come together. But it's
Mhm.
having that faith is really tough when you're in the early stages and you're like, oh, this is a hot mess, or you're doing a demo and somebody's saying that's a hot mess.
Oh, it's so true. I really think that that combination of having a process that you've mastered that you can rely on, that even if you get off, you can go back to whatever that last step in your process was.
Right, right. And drawing's really, I mean, usually for me at least, it's a drawing problem
Mhm.
that I may stumble upon, and I'm like, okay, I gotta go back to the literal drawing board,
Right.
and figure this thing out.
Right.
Now I'm
I
just kind of uh, tilting the brush and letting the paint fall off the brush. Give me some of those leaves.
I used to teach drawing first and wouldn't let my students go to painting until they had done drawing. But then I found
Mhm.
that everybody just really wanted to paint, right? And
Oh
then
yeah.
and so now I teach painting first until they get to a point in their paintings where the real problem is that their drawing isn't where it needs to be.
Um,
And then they go into drawing with open arms and they don't fight me on it.
yeah, yeah. That's a great idea. I like that
Yeah.
because that drawing is. I mean, I studied as an illustrator, so it was all about drawing.
Mhm.
Um, so I have to kind of think back to when I was starting out that not everybody has that basis for drawing.
Right.
Um, so we gotta work with folks. We're gonna take some green, put that in here. We're gonna I like to get every color off my palette into a painting. It
Mhm.
kind of harmonizes, but also grays out some of the colors, so it's
Mhm.
not as intense.
Well, I love how your green in this case is kind of acting as a blue as far as you have red and yellow
Yes,
on your canvas.
right.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm pushing some of those cooler colors. I'm working my way there.
It never occurred to me to kind of paint in layers like this, like get your reds down and then your yellows and then um
Yeah, I kind of just I have this habit of being able to look at a reference and break it down into steps as far as um, what's the best avenue to take to get the results I want.
mhm.
Um,
That in itself is a great skill.
yeah, I don't know where that comes from. It's probably just I don't know if it's a guy thing, but if my wife asked me to do something like uh, can you build this for me? I'll just sit there for like hours and staring into the abyss. And she's worried because she doesn't see me actually doing anything. I'm like, I'm thinking about it.
I think that might be an artist thing. I'm definitely very guilty
Is
of
it?
that. Oh, yeah.
That's good to hear.
Well,
That's
and
good to hear.
there's an anecdote about Raphael when he was working for the Pope. Or sorry, no, it was Michelangelo. And the Pope was writing letters complaining about how he was just sitting there staring at the wall for hours and hours.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. I feel you.
Because my daughter definitely doesn't think that I'm working.
It's hard to convince people that thinking is work sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
It gets me to, every day some days I don't have to take her to school, so I get to sleep in.
Mm-hmm.
And then she'll come home and I'm in bed again because I'm just laying there thinking. She's like,
right.
You haven't moved all day. It looks bad. So I can't usually get up, do dishes so that she thinks I'm doing something actual productive that she can.
Well, isn't Bill Gates famous for his think weeks where like twice a year for a week, he locks himself in his library with nothing but grilled cheese sandwiches and just sits there?
Is that right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he calls
Holy
them
smokes.
Right?
I love grilled cheese.
But if Bill Gates can take the time to think, maybe the rest of us should have that privilege.
Yeah. I mean, he's doing something right. He's not a slouch. I mean,
no.
Take a little bit of red.
I don't know. Maybe we're afflicted with like a productivity disease in our contemporary society where we have to, look like we're doing work as opposed to doing the real work and look like we're not doing work.
Yeah, that's the only reason I even post sometimes, so people either know that I'm alive or I'm still giving this art thing a go.
Right. So Terry in the chat saying sometimes she just has to stop and clean, reorganize the studio. Definitely. I have a hard time seeing if things are in disarray.
Oh yeah, and my family does not like to see when I start cleaning, because that means I'm throwing stuff away. I'm sanding paintings down. I'm getting rid of stuff. It's a spiral. I mean, it's a float.
I recently moved into a 500 square foot little tiny house, and the amount of stuff I have in my studio is too much stuff. And I've been trying to figure out what the new studio space demands of my stuff, right? And what I can let go of. But it's so hard to let go of art supplies. How do you do it? What's your secret for cleaning out your studio?
I actually have, I try to pawn things off onto my former interns. And I'll just call them and say, "Hey, I got this stuff." And they'll be suspicious because like, why are you just giving me stuff?
Right.
Well, I can't fit it anywhere anymore. You can probably at least use this.
Well, Stephen, please think of me the next time you need to get rid of things.
Absolutely. I actually have a bunch of frames over here that I'm just like, I don't know if I'm even going to fill them.
Oh my goodness.
Now I'm adding a little bit of blue into the sky in between.
What a difference that makes going from the warm to the cool. Like the value is still very light, but just shifting to the cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just, again, it's that dumb friend that you're trying to incorporate by making you look warmer or brighter.
I love how colors aren't warm and cool in your world. They're bright and dumb.
Yes.
My favorite lens to view color from right now.
Although I don't have like particular colors that I just don't like anymore. I used to really despise yellow ochre.
Oh, really? Tell us about your yellow ochre hate.
It was only because it was during the time where I was changing diapers and it just took me back.
Oh, that's so interesting.
I was like, oh God, that looks like diaper. Oh,
Oh, that's so funny. We can be traumatized by colors or
Exactly.
affiliations to colors.
I got all this flack about it, like, oh yeah, you should love yellow ochre.
Well, I could see
You,
why
you
maybe,
come over here.
right. Well, with your propensity for chroma and letting the mud make itself, I could see why yellow ochre might not be appealing to you,
Yeah,
aside from the diaper situation.
right, right.
You're getting some good laughs in the chat.
Oh, good.
I think a
I
lot of
try,
people can empathize with that.
I try to keep it light.
Yes,
Gets me through the day.
So I know we got a little bit of a late start, but we only have a few minutes left to work today. So
Not a problem. Not a
uh,
problem. I'm adding in some radiant turquoise with cobalt to the outside to kind of gray out some of these trees.
so there's a comment in the chat saying that it seems that you're adding imagined colors compared to the photo reference. Is that true, or are you just in a stage in the painting? Like, do you like to paint more vibrantly than what you see, or is
I
this?
usually like to paint more vibrantly than what I'm given,
Mhm.
just because to bring a little bit more interest to it. Also, I find that usually where people hang works doesn't get the proper light. So I
Mhm.
want to make things a little bit brighter than getting exactly what the
Oh,
reference is showing me.
that's a great point. Contemporary lighting in contemporary houses is just awful.
Yeah, yeah. So I sometimes I'll see where my painting was hung. I'm like, gosh, I made that exactly like the reference, but it just doesn't read.
Right.
And as I go further into the painting, I mean, more and more nowadays, I'll gray things out and use more glazes and things of that nature to harmonize and unify some of the colors, so it's not as garish as some paintings can be.
I really love the mood of this. You really captured that feeling of, the sun coming through the trees.
Well, that's another reason I like taking my own photos, because I can recall what it felt like to see the
Mhm.
sun cutting through the trees, and
Mhm.
as opposed to using somebody else's photo, and I'm not completely sure what um, if the camera's changing something
Oh, sure.
um, without me knowing it.
So do you prefer to work from reference versus plein air?
Yeah, just because that's how I grew up as far as in the illustration, where I usually use a lot of photo reference and things like that. But I usually take my own so that I can still relate and um, have that sense that I was there,
Sure.
um, as if I were doing plein air.
Mhm. A lot of my friends are plein air painters, and they're always trying to get me to go out with them. And I keep trying so hard to be a plein air enjoyer, and it's just not my jam. I don't like not having complete control of my
I
space.
I do like having especially in South Georgia, air conditioning. Um, I definitely enjoy being able to just turn Netflix on at
Yes.
any given moment.
Yeah.
I don't want to swat at flies um, or mosquitoes all day,
Yes.
but I'll get
Yeah.
out there every once in a while, and it's exhausting. It can be exhausting.
Absolutely. So I'm afraid we need to wrap up for today. There is a request that if you continue working on it, could you please post it in the chat later?
Absolutely.
And wonderful. Okay, everybody. Thank you so very much for our wonderful guest, Stephen. It was wonderful having you. You
It
can
was my
follow
pleasure.
you can follow Stephen at StephenWalkerStudios.com, and his Instagram is at StephenWalkerStudios. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, so I actually have a gift for you. I mean, technically it's from Eric Rhodes, but I'm going to take credit for it because I'm the host today. So you can download this free ebook. It's 97 Incredible Secrets. Go to 97artsecrets.com/ASL. And also, I have some great news. This week is Streamline's 12 Days of Christmas, which means that all week I get to give away prizes. So go to painttube.tv/day-1 to discover today's gift. Streamline drops a new gift to shop for loved ones and yourself every day at 9 a.m. Eastern time. So we'll go ahead and put that in the chat, the painttube.tv/day-1. And okay, so now for a giveaway. This is the fun part, 12 Days of Christmas giveaway. Post in the comments, pick me to have a chance to win Jill Carver's art courses. So if you want this amazing Jill, this is an incredible gift. Look at this, painttube.tv /day-1 to look at today's gift. And for the giveaway, oh, I see some pick-me's. I see some definite pick-me's. Okay, Lois Fernandez. Congratulations to Lois Fernandez, today's winner. Welcome and enjoy this wonderful gift. Everyone, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel at Art School Live. Make sure to follow as well. And on YouTube at Eric Rhodes and on Instagram. You can also learn more about me and the school that I run, the School of Atelier Arts, at theschoolofatelierarts.com. And you can follow me at Mandy Fine Artist on Instagram. All right. So that's all for today. I am going to be here all week as a guest interviewer for Eric, and I hope to see all of you tomorrow.